Oh.
If we turn it off, you have to kind of turn off. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so first I'm going to do a greeting to Ishihara Sensei in Maori, to thank her for coming and tell her that it's to welcome her to our classroom. Okay, so atena koutou katoa, tēnā koe, nau mai haere tēnei te mihi ki a koe, o te kaupapa o tēnei rā, e tēnō whakahira te kaupapa o te pāne ki te iwi Ainu. Nō reira, tēnā koe. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Ishihara. Maybe some of you already know her from the anthropology class. She's now at Hokkaido, that's right, Hokkaido University. And can I say that you're the first Ainu woman? She's the first Ainu woman to get a PhD. Okay, PhD. Maybe second. Very cool, very cool. Okay, so you don't want to listen to my voice today, you want to listen to her, so I'll let Ishihara Sensei introduce herself, and later, if we have some questions, then we can ask questions. So the question time we can do in Japanese, it's okay. Because today the most important is for you to know what you want to know and ask questions. So if you're a little bit worried about speaking English, today asking questions in Japanese is okay. Okay? Yeah, let's give her one more compliment.
Hello everybody. Hello. How are you today? I think some of you have already attended my anthropology class on Wednesday. Can you raise your hand if you take anthropology? Thank you. And many of you are first this time, so nice meeting you. I'm very happy to be here today because I graduated Hokusei many years ago. But I graduated from Hokusei Girls Junior High School and high school, and also Hokusei University. So I'm very honored to be back here and share time with you. First of all, do you have this paper, summary? Everybody has this. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the history of silent Ainu, and about my story and about my family history, and also about Japanese history and social structure, Japanese society. And there are 6 questions for you to answer. So on this paper, you can write Japanese, but if you want to write English, it's very fun. It's very welcome. Okay? Okay? 2 years ago, my name is Mai Ishihara. I finished my doctoral graduate school program last year, and I received PhD degree last year, so I've been doctor now. And this is 2 years ago in Greece. I was on honeymoon. Do you know honeymoon? Yes. This was Santorini of Greece. It's an island which is very famous for honeymoon. You can check that online if you want to. It's a very famous place for honeymoon. And this is in Greece. Do you know Greece? What's Greece in Japanese? Yes, you know very well. Because, do you know this guy? Maybe anthropology students know already. But this guy is a very famous philosopher of Greece. He's a Greek man. And he said, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. This is also known as muchi no chi in Japanese. Maybe you, yeah, that's right. Maybe you have studied this words in your high school Indigat ethics class, and this is my ultimate favorite philosopher because he said, what's important is that you know nothing. You still, after you study many things, you learn many things, you still need to know that you know nothing sometimes. So you can be very polite and have this motivation to study further. So his name is Socrates. In Japanese word, Socrates. Okay? Can you say this word together after me? Socrates.
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 Yes, he's a very, very great philosopher. And the reason I put this man and the phrase on the first screen was to think about Ainu situation or Hokkaido history or Japanese history to get together today. And we first need to know is we don't really have the knowledge about maybe Ainu people and Hokkaido history or even Japanese history. So this is the beginning with. Now, question number 1. Do you have 10? Thank you. First question is, there are many Ainu people in Hokkaido or Ainu descendants who are like me. But if you have not met Ainu people yet, why do you think you have never met them? Please write that on your summary paper. This is another test. I just want to know your opinion and comments. So at the end of this class, I will gather the papers. And if you didn't understand the meaning of this question or in English, please ask me or ask your friends or Abdul Sensei. So in this talk, I will focus on the history of silent Ainu people. Silent is like, you don't say it that you have Ainu. Silent. In Japanese, chinmoku. And explore how we can make society to better understand and consider local diversity. Okay, that important word is diversity. Do you understand the word diversity? Okay. It's taiyose. Okay? And first I will briefly introduce the Ainu history and current situation of the Ainu. The Ainu are indigenous, it's not in the slide, but indigenous people in Japan. Maybe because you're taking a culture census class, you know the word indigenous, but this is a very important word. Indigenous, if I may explain in English, in Japanese, senjumi. Okay? So Ainu is indigenous people in Japan. And the Ainu people mainly live in Hokkaido, but they also live in Sakhalin, it's the northern part of Hokkaido, and Kuril Island and northern part of mainland Japan. So it's not only in Hokkaido, but it's also in the mainland, Honshu, and also the actually Sakhalin is not Japan now, it's in Russia, but also the Ainu people live there too. And recently many Ainu people have also moved to Tokyo and other other region of southern Japan. During the Yayoi period, I think you have studied in history class, which started in mainland Japan about 300 BC. The archaeological cultural periods for Hokkaido included Dokujomo period, the Satsuma period, and the Hot culture. So we see Hokkaido history is very different from mainland Japan. Okay, did you notice? So we need to know now is Hokkaido has different history compared to mainland Japan. And this shows that the history of Hokkaido has distinctive features, it's different feature compared to that of mainland Japan. The Ainu culture extended from about 1400 to the early 1700s. So, see this 1400 and 1700s, this is the time when Ainu culture occurs. Okay? This is the beginning of Ainu culture. The close relationship between the Ainu and Japanese began in the mid-1400s. Japanese came to oppress the Ainu. And to resist this oppression by the Japanese, the Ainu waged battles in 1455, and 1669 and 1789. But Ainu lost this battle, right? I think you have known this in history class. And the land is like Hokkaido. This land was named as Hokkaido in 1869. Do you know how to call this period in Japanese? 1869. What era is 1869? Do you know? Is it Showa? Heisei? Do you know?
Come on, you did Japanese history at high school. Why Japanese?
Yeah, it's really hard to remember the name of the era, but we finished Heisei, and I was born in Showa, and before that Taisho, and before that Meiji. Okay? So it's a long time ago. So 1869 is in Meiji era. Actually, it was Meiji too. Okay? And the Ainu lost this battle, and Ainu lost any control by their own. So Japanese came to Hokkaido, and the life and history and story of Ainu people really changed. Now let's see the current Ainu situation. Did you know that 2019, which means this year, is the 150th anniversary of Hokkaido? And I was in Canada this year on March, and Canada was also a 150th anniversary last year, 2 years ago. So it's about the same with Canada and Hokkaido. And recently, new law was enacted for Ainu people, and it stated that Ainu people are indigenous people and banning discrimination. Do you understand the word ban and discrimination? This is also a very important word to think about Ainu situation in Japan. Discrimination is, yes, some people are whispering, sabetsu. Okay, please remember this word, sabetsu. And actually, it's a really good for Ainu people to have this new law, but also the problem was indigenous rights and land rights are not included. So maybe from next week you can also study about Maori history and situation from Koto Sensei and compare to Ainu situation, because it's really different. In New Zealand, Australia, Canada, USA, or Taiwan, indigenous people have their rights of indigenous rights or land rights. Do you understand the word right? Right is kenri. This is also important. And the current situation, very serious part is the hate speech against Ainu people. It's not, the main hate speech is not for Ainu people, but for resident Korean people. I think some of you have known that from the internet or from TV. Like when you go to Shinjuku or Shin-Okubo, you see many hate speech against Korean people. But for Ainu people also there are hate or hatred against Ainu. And some people said Ainu people no longer exist. And the first question I asked you was, have you ever met Ainu people before? And I think some of you have met, but many of you have never met Ainu people before. So it's really hard to see the reality that there are many Ainu people living in Hokkaido. And it's really different from New Zealand. I have never visited New Zealand yet, but there are many Maori people in the society. So non-Maori people can meet Maori people in a daily life. But it's really different here and there. And in my research, we want to think about why this situation happens. And the very important keyword is the monoculture of Japan. Do you know monoculture? Mono means one. Okay? Japan is considered to be a very monocultural country. So everybody looks same. I think when you were in high school, many of you had to wear a uniform, school uniform. I really didn't like that. But for Japanese, it's really important to be the same. It's really different from other countries. Other countries, there are many kinds of colors of hairs and eyes and the skins of color. And there are many cultures and histories and backgrounds, but in Japan, it's really hard to see the difference between one people. Okay, and the Japanese, this is the population of Ainu people. In 2017, the population is said to be about 13,000. But I'm going to talk about silent Ainu people today. It's not like 13,000 people are living as Ainu in recent years. And this is actually the comment by former politician, former politician. I'll read. The indigenous Ainu group no longer exists, and suggesting those who identify as Ainu are motivated by government programs that benefit the ethnic minority. The present law does not encompass anything that may legally confer the term Ainu. This was in the article of 2014, but this comment was on Twitter, stated by former politician. So it was a really big news. And so we still need to think about how to live together, but still by politician, these words can come, and people no longer exist. So this is really difficult situation for Ainu people to live. Now, this is question number 2. I want you to think about the image of Ainu people. Okay? Please write anything you have on your mind. What image do you have about Ainu people? In the past, in the present, anything. And you can write in Japanese if you want. Okay? Language, and they are the people who are proud of culture, transmitted from generation to generation. So they are taking very importance of their own culture. Thank you very much. And one more.
The Ainu people has original and unique culture or custom.
Thank you very much. Great pronunciation. She said Ainu people has unique cultures. Yes, that's very true. And okay, then next, please take a look at the slide. To think about the situation of Ainu people, there is also very important characteristics of Japanese culture and presentation of history in Japan that needs to be considered. As I said in the last slide, in Japan, very unique or specific feature is monoculture. Okay? And for example, let's compare this to other countries. From the second line, it says this is about Canadian census. Do you know the word census? I have talked about this in the anthropology class. So can anthropology students answer this? What was census? This is, in Japanese, 国勢調査. 国勢調査. It's still difficult to imagine, but every nation, every country has census, which is 国勢調査, to research about the population and like how people live together in a modern society. And in Canadian census, please take a look at the slide. Over 250 ethnic origins or ancestries were reported. It means there are 250 kinds of ethnicity or racial or background category. 250, and there's not like only 250 because 4 in 10 people reported more than one ethnic or cultural origin. Do you understand? 4 in 10 people. If there's 10 people, 4 people would have more than one ethnic or cultural origin. So you have more than 2 roots. 4 in 10 people. So 250, not only 250, but it's more. It's like thousands of ethnicity, how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your history, and connect to your ancestry are reported. So I want you to think about, is it same in Japan? Is it really same? And in Canada, close to 20 million people reported European origins. So this is also the difference between here and Canada, because in Japan, Japanese are living in mainland forever. It's not like from other place and come and live. But Hokkaido is a little bit different, but it's a part of Japan, so history is connected. But in Canada or in US, America, or New Zealand, or Australia, or even in Taiwan, it's a settler nation. It means people are from other places to live on the land. So there were indigenous people first, then after, not everybody, but white people come to the land and they start to live. So Canada is like that nation, like that society, country. So it's really different from Japan. So Japan, this line, Japan nationally, ethnically, and racially Japanese. So these are the maybe difficult words for you to understand. National, ethnic, and racial. National, ethnic, and racial. And if you can understand these differences between the words, you'll be really expert about considering this situation, because in Japan, we never discuss about this difference. You understand? National is Hokumin. Okay? Hokumin. You can distinguish this nationality by passport, maybe. If you have Japanese passport, you're Japanese. Right? It's like international politics decide who is Japanese. It's a national issue. Okay? Hokumin. But ethnically, this is very difficult because as we have studied in the last slide, in Japanese census, there's not any categories to think about this ethnic situation. And racially, this is also something we don't really understand very well. But racial is like jinshu. If you have to translate into Japanese, it's jinshu. And ethnic is minzoku. Okay? Minzoku. It's not enough to say that the translation is not enough, but if I have to do it, Hokumin and Minzoku and Jinshu. So these are very different and difficult, but very important words to understand. But we, Japanese, really, it's really difficult for Japanese to understand because we don't discuss about this thing. Okay? But I have stayed in United States when I was about your age, maybe. I learned that there are many ethnical and racial differences in the society. There are many black people, there are many Indian people, there are many people from like Hispanic people, and American, Asian, American, Japanese American people. So there are many differences in the society, but in Japan, we don't see the difference every day. What do you think? So my question is, who are the Ainu? Is it national category? Or is it ethnical category? Or is it racial category? These are very important for your future because in very near future there will be not only Japanese to live in this nation, in this country, but also there will be many foreigners come to Japan and live together. So we need to think about this difference and also similarities. Now, I want you to take a look at this. Okay, this is the website of called Ranker, and it says famous people you didn't know are Native American. Do you like to watch movies or dramas? Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe there are some people you know. I don't know. Okay. Do you know this lady, actress, Cameron Diaz? Okay, you're nodding. She is part Native American. She's the profile is Cameron Diaz had stated she has Native American ancestry on her mother's side. Wow, she's 46 now. Maybe you don't know this guy, but Elvis Presley, you do? How do you know him?
Very famous. Very famous.
He is, but he has passed away in 1977, so it's a long time ago. But he's a very famous star. But Elvis Presley's great-great-great-grandmother was reportedly a full-blooded Cherokee Indian. Megan Fox, Jimi Hendrix, Angelina Jolie. She appears on Mai Ishihara. Have you ever watched? You have? I haven't yet. Okay, Angelina Jolie has Iroquois ancestors. And this is another singer. Vanessa Hudgens. Beyonce is a very famous musician, singer. very much, there are not many young people, but oh, yeah, there's a commercial on the coffee. I don't remember the name of the coffee, but he was in a commercial. Mai Ishihara, maybe you know her? Singer and actress. Let's read. Mai Ishihara has stated she is part Cherokee. However, her ancestry is unverified, so it's not clear yet. And Johnny Depp? And so on. So the reason I wanted you to see was in a multi-ethnic countries like US, America, or Canada, it's not really rare to have different background or a different heritage, history. But, yeah, like this, people. But I feel like it's really different here in Japan. For example, I was in US when I was I was 14 years old when I first visited America for a short stay. Then I was in USA for 1 year when I was in high school. I think I was 16 to 17 years old. And I was surprised to see all the people around me were talking about their background. Like, my ancestor is from Germany, or my ancestor is from England, or my ancestor is from, well, Africa. So there are many people who are talking about their histories and backgrounds, but does it happen in Japan? Do we talk about our background and heritage and history? I wasn't in that situation when I was young. So I thought that's very different from here and there. So now, this is a question number 3. It's about census. But the situation holds. In Japanese census, there is not any ethnic category. It's not questions about the difference between people. Okay? Why do you think there's not any ethnic category in Japanese census? In your opinion, there's no any right answers. So please think about and answer and write on the paper. Again, in Japanese is also welcome. This is a brief information about the Ainu population again. The population of Ainu people are reported to be 13,000 people, but I would say more than 100,000 of people have Ainu heritage, such as myself. I'm going to talk about my history and my family history from now on, but my mother's side grandmother, it's called my maternal grandmother, my mother's mother, was Ainu lady, like full-blooded, so pure. It's really bad to say pure or full blood, but my grandmother was Ainu lady. But my father's side grandmother was from Aizu. Do you know the word? Aizu. No, you don't. I wasn't very good student in high school either, but Aizu was the people who battled Bakumatsu no Tatakai, and they actually lost. So it was like little historical famous people. Now in Fukushima or Niigata area, it's called Aizu area. So my father's side grandmother was the descendant of Aizu Han. So my historical background is really complex. It's not only one side. So I would say, like myself, people who have Ainu background or Ainu roots, simple to say, maybe there would be like 100,000 people are in Hokkaido. Do you know the population of Hokkaido? How many population? You know, 5 million. About 5 million is the population of Hokkaido people. And 100,000 is like 1 in 50 people maybe have Ainu background, or even more, maybe like double time. So I want to say that there are many kinds of people who have Ainu heritage or roots, or maybe some of people have other backgrounds, but they just don't say it, or they don't know it because it's not told from parents or grandparents. So I want to strongly emphasize that there are many people who has different background. But in Japan, it's not discussed yet. Discussion is not completely done yet. So in the future, maybe there are many people who said, okay, I have different background, I have Ainu background or other background in the future, hopefully. So my background, please take a look at the slide. This is a brief my story. I didn't know that I have Ainu background or Ainu roots until the age of 12. I was born in Sapporo and I was raised in Sapporo, so I'm here forever. So I haven't met Ainu people before until I knew about my background. But my mother told me that my grandmother on my mother's side was Ainu because she said, it was not on the slide, but she said she didn't want me to discriminate against Ainu people, even I have Ainu background. So that's why she told me that my grandmother was Ainu people, Ainu lady. But she also said, don't tell other people about your background unless the person is knowledgeable about Japanese history. So do you understand this phrase? She said, I can only tell people if the person knows Japanese or Hokkaido history very well. But we all know that nobody is knowledgeable. Nobody knows about Ainu history, nobody knows about Hokkaido or Japanese history yet. Mada, ne? Mada. So, which means I couldn't tell anyone in elementary school or junior high school or high school, or even after I started working. I couldn't tell even to my best friend about my background, even I knew it. I knew that my grandmother was Ainu, but I couldn't tell them. So I'm going to talk about my history later, in a specific, or maybe not. So I was in Hokusei University, I was in Ebunka, and I became an English teacher. So I taught English in high school and professional college after university. I graduated university. But I thought, why do I have to teach English and, educate for international person, international education? But rather, I thought we need to know about our history and our culture first, before international education, or before English. So I decided to study again when I was 28. I worked as an English teacher until the age of 28. But I decided to quit the job, quit to be a teacher, and entered Hokkaido University as a graduate student at the age of 28. And I became a cultural anthropologist after 10 years. But after I started to study about Ainu situation and Ainu study, I met many Ainu people, Like you said, Ainu people has unique and original cultures, and they're proud of their cultures. So I met them, but I couldn't feel that I am part of them because I don't have any experience as Ainu person, and I didn't know any culture about Ainu culture. So I felt excluded. Do you know this word? Exclude? It's not like I didn't feel like I am part of them. I am part of Ainu people. So it's like this phrase, feel excluded. Okay? Feeling not part of them. By both Ainu community but also Japanese community, because we have studied that in Japanese society, it's usually monoculture. Only one person, only one people, and one history and one language, right? So having the Ainu background or thinking about Ainu history, I felt I am not majority Japanese, regular Japanese, okay? So I felt excluded by both Ainu and Japanese culture or society. So I felt there is not any space for me to live. So that was actually about my research in Leiden University. So my voice is not heard by any people because there's Ainu people and there's Japanese people. It's minority and majority, but I was neither. Okay? So I felt like my voice is not heard. So I started my journey stretching back to 100 years, which means my family history. I traced my family history and why it happened in my life. So I'm going to talk about my family history next, but before that, this is question number 4. Again, it's a little difficult maybe. How would you feel if you find that you have different background, such as Ainu, than Japanese today? So this question is for you to imagine that today, maybe some of you has different background. Not everybody is just like a majority Japanese, but if, let's say, you are Japanese majority, what about how do you feel? Today, your family, your mother, your father, your grandparents told you that you have other background other than Japanese, such as Ainu or Korean or other backgrounds. How do you feel? Are you happy? Do you tell people? Do you want to meet people? Grandmother who passed away, who died before I was born, so I have never met her, but she's a very important person in my history. And then I'm going to talk about my grandmother on my mother's side, and then my mother, and about myself. Okay? I didn't have her picture, but if you can try to look, Ainu lady's tattoo around her lips, you'll find many pictures on the internet. My great-grandmother Tsuru had tattoo around her lips. Can you imagine? I haven't seen any Ainu lady in my life who has tattoo around her lips. But in other country, I met many people, many ladies who has tattoo on the face. Older generation, but they're still here. So my great-grandmother, her name was Tsuru. Tsuru is Japanese name, right? It's a bird, pretty bird. In English, it's crane. So she had Japanese name, but her parents had Ainu name. It's on the registration documents. I found many Ainu names, but she had Japanese name. She was born in, I think, 1905. 1905, 1905年, she was born. And she lived in an Ainu village, which is called Kotan in Ainu language. She was in Kotan, and she lived with traditional Ainu culture. Her mother tongue was Ainu language. First language was Ainu language, and her second language was Japanese. So my mother remembered my great-grandmother was speaking Japanese language like a foreigner. You know, it's a little different pronunciation than Japanese. And tattoo around her lips, I heard that it really, really hurts because you use knife and cut your skin and put the black thing into it, so it gets so sore and it hurts. But that was the ceremony to become adult. So it was really important for them to have that custom. But this tattoo played a role of stigma. This is a little difficult word, but stigma is like a bad sign. Bad sign. So if you have tattoo like this, people suddenly see you different people, right? So she was in Ainu village. The place was okay because everybody was Ainu and there were no discrimination. But when she had to take a bus to go to next village, which there many Japanese people live together, so she had to hide the tattoo because otherwise she get discriminated against. Like children throw a stone to her and Ainu, do that. So she had to hide it. So this played a role as bad sign, stigma in her lifetime. So it was really hard life for her to live in a Japanese society. Then my grandmother, her name was Tsuyako, she was born in a village called, the place is Biratori. Have you ever heard? This is that place many Ainu people still live today. So she was born in Biratori, Kotan. But she started to work at the Japanese-run farmer at the age of at the age of 8. So she couldn't even go to elementary school. She had to work in a farm, which was run not by Ainu people but by Japanese. So like economical difference is very serious, but also the ethnic Japanese and Ainu difference was very serious matter. Sometimes she had to eat rotten rice. Rotten, do you understand the word? Going bad. Spoiled. Rotten, saru, rotten rice she had to eat. But she had this clear goal over her lifetime to become rich and be Japanese. So she was not going to give up her life. She decided to be strong, and she was also very kind. So to me, the reason I'm here today is because I really liked her, and she is the most respective person for me. But the sad part was because she thought that being Ainu is not a good thing in Japanese society. There were many discrimination back then. So she decided to get married with wajin. Do you know this word, wajin? Wajin means not Ainu, Japanese, non-Ainu Japanese. So she decided to marry with wajin because she wanted her children to be like Japanese. If she had to marry with Ainu people, Ainu person, the appearance, physical appearance will be different. So she decided to get married with wajin, and this makes me really sad because how do you feel? Okay, let's say you're Japanese. Some of you may or not, but let's say you're Japanese, and you decide not to marry a Japanese guy. It's really weird, right? just fell in love with somebody and you get married with somebody you like. It's not about being nationally something or ethnically something, but she just avoided the marriage with Ainu people. And this happened in the history a lot, so it's really sad. And she also avoided Ainu culture because she had to survive in Japanese society. That's the only strategy, that's the only way to survive in Japanese society. Get married with a Wajin man and avoid Ainu culture, be Japanese was the only survival. Okay? And my mother, Itsuko, she was also born in Biratori, but her father is Wajin man. So she didn't have any Ainu culture by herself. She wasn't raised in the Ainu community, but she knew that she has Ainu blood. And this is a very problematic situation of Japan. But like my mother, she has half, right? Half Ainu, half Japanese. But she was always treated as Ainu lady in Biratori because she has Ainu blood. And being someone is not only about the blood. So everybody should have some right to choose who you are. But in Biratori, and still in many Japanese places, having some blood of some group which is discriminated against, sometimes has no choice to be who you are. So it's called one-drop rule. This is also a very important concept. It was in the US and it was conducted for black people. So if you have only like one drop black blood in like many generations before, you're still black. That was the law conducted in the US back then. It's not anymore. So my mother met many great literatures, including, do you know this? Do you know this guy, Shimazaki Toson? Maybe it was in textbook. Shimazaki Toson's Hakai, it really changed her life because she learned that it's not only Ainu people who are struggling in Japanese society, but also Hisabetsu Burakumin. It's not really, we don't really know about this Hisabetsu Buraku in Hokkaido, but if you go to Tokyo or to Kansai, it's really very big issue still now. So I heard that still, like, if you are to marry with somebody, a good family research, that person is not from Hisabetsu Buraku. So marriage discrimination is still in some places. So my mother studied about this difficult situation, not Ainu people, but many like Hisabetsu Buraku or Zainichi, Chosen Kankokujin, it's called resident Korean. And she learned that this is not only about Ainu issue or matter, but there are many kind of problems in Japan. So she decided to publish a newspaper by Ainu young people in her youth. She was about 20 years ago, 20-year-old when she published this newspaper. But she was involved with this movement, Ainu movement, but she thought she didn't have any Ainu culture because she's not learned from parents or ancestors. She felt really sad because being Ainu is about having Ainu culture. So she was really sad that she's not Ainu, but she's also not Japanese because she has a blood. So that was my mother's story. And here I am. I was on Hokkaido newspaper 2 years ago, and I think you have some books in the library. This was published as a title, Kokoro Yuasu by Hokkaido Shimbun. This my great grandmother's picture. I want to use this photo of my great grandmother, but unfortunately my relatives, my family member, one of my aunts said she doesn't want me to use this photo anymore because there's still she has difficult life with Ainu heritage, Ainu roots, so I just don't use the photo anymore, but it's good. And what I have learned from my family history was I call vertical and horizontal separation. So vertical is like from generation to generation, from my great-grandmother to my grandmother, my grandmother to my mother, and my mother to me. So vertical is like this, okay? Vertical, we are separated because we don't talk about Ainu history, we don't know nothing about Ainu culture. It's called separation. It's separated. And there's also a horizontal. You know horizontal? We know the word horizon, like this. Vertical and horizon. So because we are not transmitted in Ainu culture and history from generation to generation, we don't know what to be Ainu. We don't know anything about Ainu culture. So when we see Ainu people, like myself, I meet many Ainu people now, but I can't have the same feeling with them because our history and historians are not transmitted from generation. So there's a vertical separation and also horizontal separations that about this newspaper article. And I became an invisible person. So it's like I feel like I don't exist in the history and present. This means if you have Japanese history book, you can find something about Ainu people. But it says they're in the past and they're in the present, but they are playing the Ainu culture, and some of you said that they're proud of Ainu culture and they're living as Ainu, but there's not any sentence about people who are like me. You know, I have the Ainu background in history, but I don't know how to say it, and I don't have any Ainu culture by myself. So I feel like I don't exist in a history, but also in a present. Like many of you said, you have never met Ainu people before. It means many people who are like me, let's say 100,000 people, are in silent. They just don't say it. So I am here on a newspaper, on a NHK documentary, and I'm here today to talk to you. But I feel like I still don't exist. So why people can't see me or hear me? So I put this word silent Ainu. Even I start speaking up, it says Ainu or watching. It's one or the other. So we have checked many American celebrities who has native backgrounds. So we know that, okay, Angelina Jolie has ancestry who is Iroquois. But it's not like Indian or white, because it's very complicated in USA history or in situation. In New Zealand also it's like that, but in Japan it's still one or the other, majority or minority. So it's very different and difficult to speak up. Now, okay, we're running out of time, but this is a fifth question. How can you listen to voice of silent Ainu? Like me. How can you, what's the attitude? How can you, for them to speak to you, or how can you hear that voice? And this is a little too difficult question, but the next one, how do you react if your best friend tells you that he or she has a background? It's like coming out, right? Okay, I have this sign background. How would you say to them? Please think about and write. take a look at the slide, the second line, 3F frame, which means fashion, festivals, and food. These are some different cultures, which is very important for majority to accept, because it doesn't harm majority. But I was talking at the beginning of this class, what about land rights of indigenous people? Many countries have these indigenous rights for indigenous people, including land rights. How do we do what we do if this place was Ainu people's land and they want this land back? Can we accept that? And what about your house? If you have house and Ainu people say this is our land and just give this back to us, what could you do? So multiculturalism is very important, but still, like fashion festival food, which is called 3F frame, is very welcomed, but not the discussion such as including indigenous rights or the history. It's still difficult problems to be solved. So that was 2 quick. So last question says, how can you avoid cosmetic multiculturalism? This is the question too difficult, so I want to switch this question. Please write what you have learned today from this class, what you can do for future. And as you're writing on the paper, I want to talk about my experience with coming out to my friends. Please write and listen. Okay, I told my friends about my own backgrounds. When I was, I graduated university. Then my friend said, I don't care if you're Ainu or not. And this word really hurt my feeling. That I don't care. In Japanese, 気にしない. And 気にしない, I don't care is not what I want my friends to say, because I want friends to care about my background. I want to talk with them. I want to think about this background. So sometimes 気にしない, I don't care, is okay for some people, but for me it was not right. I was really sad to hear that. And another friend said, this is the most happy phrase I've heard from my friends when I came out of my background. She said, thank you for telling me. Thank you for telling me about your history and background. This was the most happy phrase I've heard from my friends. Because sometimes when we talk about some backgrounds or difficulties or sadness, some trauma, it really has this difficult tension between those friends and myself. So I felt I wanted to feel like it's okay to talk about it. So it's okay to tell people about my background or about my concern, my problems. So yes, what I was really happy was thank you for telling me. It depends on the people. Okay, and this is the last slide. So today I talked about silent Ainu histories, and I wanted you to think about how we can live together from someone who has different background. I think the very important part is first the word compassion. This can be translated into Japanese such as omoiyari. But I'm going to translate this word as sharing pain. It's not only about omoiyari, but I want to talk how I feel about my background and what struggling I have with my friends. So I want to share my pain, and I want to share my friend's pain. So if we can share pains between each other, it will be multiculturalism, very good, and living together society. I think this is a very great attitude to have. So, my last message of this class today is part, not judge, but listen and ask. Judging is like, okay, Ainu people are like this, and Japanese are like this, and like Korean are like this. Keep judging. You decide. But things and the situation changes every time, every day. So we have to listen and asking questions. Do you think this, or how do you think? Is it okay or is it bad? So we can keep asking each other, and we can learning the new situation. So it will be very good for many people who have many backgrounds. So this is it for today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we've all learned a lot. I don't think we have time for questions, but maybe you have to come back another thing. Okay, so I'll just finish with another Maori greeting to Ishihara Sensei. And then I'll change to Japanese. So, tēnā koe. Kōrero tēnei rā. Tēnō whakahirahira te kaupapa o tātou. Whaiwhai tonu koe. Rāna ki ngā mea Ainu. Mō te Okay, so I just say thank you very much to Ishihara Sensei for telling us about her experiences, her life, what we can do to help Ainu people in the struggle that's going on at the moment, and it would be great that in the future that we didn't have any silent Ainu, that everyone would be loud and proud. Yes, so for homework, I would like you to write about today's class, today's lecture, and today's Ishihara talk. We're going to do that for next week's class, because next week's class is cancelled, because I have to go to Korea for a conference. So you're going to be doing online homework, and you'll be writing your thoughts, your opinions, your reflection about today's class. And I think after I will get that data from Guru, and as a present we can give it to Ishihara Sensei. There will be no numbers, no names. I will just get your story, your counsel, and I will copy paste, no names, no numbers, and I'll give that to Ishihara Sensei as a present. Of course it's in English. Okay, so I'll show you a little bit on the screen now. Okay, so this is the online homework. Okay, very simple question. Write what you have learned from our invited speaker, Mai Ishihara. Write in English and more than 1,000 characters. Characters, not words. 1,000. Okay, so this should be taking about 90 minutes. So I want you to think about what you learned. There's also a video of Ishihara Sensei's previous talk. She let us put up here, which is about Ainu. This one's, maybe this is in English. Yeah. Do you have a Japanese one?
Yeah, only
This one's a different one? Okay. Yeah, I might, if I find a Japanese one, I'll put a Japanese one up here too. Maybe share something and tell me. Also, what else do we have to do? One more. Oh, I have to take the tickets. Call your names for who's here, who's not. Okay, Yurai.
Here.
Yep. Ayaka. Okay. Misato. Koki.
Yes.
Shio. Natsumi. Haruka. Aini. Mari. Michika. Saki. Konomi. Reina. Ami. Daiki. Moeka. Momoka. Yuka. Asuka. Yuzuki. Maruka. Ayane. Ayane. Yuzuka. Moiki. Mei. Nanako. Oh, Nanako. Moehara. Yuzuki. Minatsu. Shiori. Anna. Iho. Kuri. Reika. Hikari. Mina. Arigo. Okay. Right, okay, so sorry to come a little bit over time. Please give your pass your papers to the front so Ishihara Sensei can take them. And I'm sure on Wednesdays Ishihara Sensei has anthropology class, so if you see Ishihara Sensei around school, please say hello. Hello. Don't say you don't have to. Yes, yes. Okay, so we're finished. Next week's cancelled. Please do the online homework. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Next 2 weeks we're going to talk about Maori and Ainu stories, legends.